Hello and welcome to the recap for Dungeons & Dragons. We are still in Act 1, Part 2-ish. I'll go first over a brief overview of the story so far, and then I'll go over what happened kind of last session. If you want time stamps and all that stuff, go look into the comments below. Without further ado, let us begin. There is currently a war going on between the kingdoms of Sola and Swadia. You guys join the side of Swadia as hired mercenaries in the Golden Company. On your way to meet with the rest of your company, currently located at Dredge Keep over here, you get waylaid by some Sola commandos who ended up being the heroes of Dragon's Rest, your characters from the previous game, and they kind of convince you maybe you shouldn't be fighting for the evil kingdom of Swadia, you should fight for the evil kingdom of Sola, because the kingdom of Sola is only fighting to reclaim their kidnapped princess, which Swadia kidnapped from them apparently. This is not public knowledge, but this is what they tell you they're fighting for. You kind of agree to join forces, and you make your way through the Dark Forest with them. Heading for Lockwood over here. It was recently taken by the Sola forces, and is currently occupied by the forces of Riff Stoney and the Stewart family. On your way through the forest, however, you were ambushed and you got separated from the Heroes of Dragon's Rest. You make your way through the forest, ending up in a monastery where you meet Father Dory, Brother Troy, and Sister Mia. You learn that Sister Mia is not being treated very well and that Brother Troy is leaving for the capital of Jackalheart soon. He begs you to take Mia with you, and you agree, but not before Mia stabs the crap out of Father Dory for mistreating her. Can't blame her, but a little far. So you guys escape the monastery, which ends up burning to the ground due to someone lighting a fire. And you make your way to the town of Lockwood. This is currently being occupied by the Sola forces. You meet the commander of the garrison there, Lord Riff Stoney, who seems to be a young gentleman but has seen many battles. He tells you, like, well, I could arrest you for just walking into this camp fully armed, but I will allow you to live and even give you a reward if you agree to take out a bandit queen in the area. Her name is Raven, and at this seeing the drawing of Raven, Mia's eyes light up. Turns out this might be her mother. You approach her camp, you get let in, not before killing some really jerkwad who was part of her entourage, and she brings you into her tent, and you have a bit of a heated discussion, at least at the side between Mia and Raven. Why did she leave Mia at this monastery? Why not take her with her? Raven gives off some questionable answers, like, oh, you wouldn't like bandit life, whatever, but is life really better in a monastery where the keeper of the monastery beats you? Probably not. Maybe we'll learn a little about that later. But in the middle of this heated discussion, Raven offers you a counter offer to her head, that if you guys rescue the princess of Sola and bring her to Raven, then she'll give you immense power, wealth, whatever you wish. Turns out she is quite powerful herself, as she turns Stone Cold into a bird and then back into a human eventually. And some crazy stuff with a portal and a woman sitting in the middle of a volcano. I'm not sure what that's all about, but it seems pretty intense. This is definitely more than just a, princess who wanted to escape the court. She tells you that if you want to learn more about what's really happening in the world beyond just capturing princesses and wars and territory, that if you find the Sola princess, things will start to unravel. So we'll see. You guys leave, trying to take the reward from Ripstoni because you have like a fake head of Raven. But he's a bit waylaid at the moment as there is a counterattack by the Golden Company and or Tongas Gilroy, as well as the remaining forces of Lockhart. You guys try to look over the battle, but are quickly encompassed by it. You leave for the capital, which you later learn that it seems the Kingdom of Swadia's forces were successful in repelling the invaders. You try entering the capital, Jackalheart, through the sewers. In those sewers, you meet this crazy Hydra snapping turtle dragon thing, which attacks you, and you get a huge battle with it. And on stride, the giant monster is a lizard man with a glowing arm tattoo, very similar to what Saphira has on her arm. And once he sees Saphira's arm glowing same as his, he says, "You also have a mark." And then that's where he flees back into the depths of the sewers with his giant monstrosity. So that might be something to look into later. Make your way through the sewers and you meet the leader of the Thieves Guild. Her name is Ega, a crotchety witch old lady who says, "Fine, I'll let you into the city. I'll even give you a bunch of papers and an invitation to a ball. In exchange, at this ball, at the Castle Valdemar, you are going to steal something from me. I'm not going to tell you what it is until you meet an informant in the castle. There's a sign-countersign thing. The sign being what we fight for, and this countersign being for Crown and Kingdom. And so you agree to do this. You can have no choice. You enter the city, but not before meeting a man named Selkath, who has a very strange tattoo on his arm, which kind of bothers Stone Cold for a moment because it reminds him of the people who murdered his mother. We'll see what happens with that later. You make way to the city, but you get in trouble with the law, and Stone Cold is thrown into jail. But don't worry, there seems to be someone to rescue him. Oh no, it's Selkath, who's paid off the guards because he's about to beat you to death. Hopefully your rest of the group is around and hopefully trying to rescue you. Well, turns out one of your group members has a big bounty on her head, and she's currently being hunted by a bounty hunter named Sir Stabwell. And there's a cool secretness battle between Sir Stabwell and Pharos and Selkath and Stone Cold. Luckily, you all defeat your opponents and managed to make it out mostly alive. In the lower city, you managed to witness the execution of your former selves, the heroes of Dragon's Rest. On that podium stands Lord Tongas Gilroy, Tim, and Lord Harold Lockhart, as well as Lady Meredith, the Knight Commander. She stands there, kind of tells the crowd that the curfew is in effect and that there's restrictions on food and such, and she gets booed off stage. And then you witness the deaths of the heroes of Dragon's Rest in front of you. They get tarred and burned and hanged. Kind of a brutal end, but the crowd loves it, so it's all good. And you make your way to the upper city finally, where you get a nice bed for the night. You talk with Pharos, who tells you that in her previous life she had killed a Council of Magi member. The Council of Magi is kind of known to be mostly a force for good in the world, kind of controlling politics behind the scenes. She doesn't reveal much more than that because you're kind of still new to each other. We'll see what happens with that later as well. The next morning, you purchase some nice clothing for your ball. You try to, push some money around, try to make, a name for yourself because, hey, you're trying to pose as wealthy merchants, or rather smugglers, trying to smuggle weapons for the army. We'll see how well that goes later. and you make your way into the Castle Valdemar at the ballroom night dance, and that's where we'll go to the next section. The party enters the ball, and this is where things do get a little complicated, so bear with me. You get all introduced to the ball individually as Hulk Hogan, Lyra, Amina, and Hannah. Mia is going under the alias of Catherine, her real name. Very smart of her. And you enter the ballroom. You immediately start looking for the informant. You don't see him immediately, but you do notice quite a lot of distinguished faces among the crowd, including Lord Harold Lockhart, a well-mustachioed man who looks a bit troubled, a bit anxious. Lady Mariana Turniff, who seems to be a young woman being kind of accosted by many young male suitors. And Lord Tongas Gilroy, who you saw at the battlefield of Lockwood, who seems to be a very military, well-dressed man. My camera fell. And Lady Harpia, who is a older woman surrounded by other ladies in waiting. Among them stands other people such as He Jin, which is a man kind of in very foreign dress. Seems to be kind of ignored by the general party. Lynette Gilroy, which is Lord Tongas Gilroy's daughter, who seems to be kind of pouting in the corner as well in her very puffy pink dress. Knights Commander Meredith, who you saw at the podium. She is kind of have a stern face, talking to other delegates of the royal court. A foreign ambassador, Keenan Keldis, who gets approached by Pharaohs until she realizes who she's talking to, the foreign ambassador for Narmina. Narmina being the purple country over there. And he recognizes her, doesn't call her out initially first, but offers her a deal. That he offers to cut the bounty in half to only 10,000 gold if Pharaohs agrees to fight or duel Bolton Gilroy, who is also at the party, Lord Tongas Gilroy's son, and purposely lose. Pharaohs does not agree to this yet, but it's an offer on the table. The party starts to mingle with the guests. Stone Cold Steve Austin approaches Lady Mariana Turniff, who is the one being accosted by all the male suitors. He kicks them out, says, "Take a hike," and she is at first very grateful but very cautious. And then you start giving her this speech about how you want to help the war by smuggling weapons to her territory. Immediately shuts him down, saying, "No, I don't want any part of that. All you want is just, my influence, whatever." And so there's kind of good and bad with that. On one hand, you helped her get rid of those annoying suitors. On the other hand, you just kind of want a good trade deal. You explore your way into the kitchen, where there is a chef with a very heavy accent screaming, "Where are my lemons? I need my lemons for the hors d'oeuvres." That's my best I can do. Going past him to the freezer, you find another beautiful young woman in courtly dress who says, "What do we fight for?" And you give the countersign for Crown and Kingdom. This is the informant you're supposed to meet. Turns out to be Princess Ava, Catherine, aka Mia's half-sister, who is currently in line for the throne. And she says that you are here to steal her father's royal seal. And she also reveals that she is in fact Aga. All she does is kind of change her voice and crouch and probably put on a bunch of makeup, and she could be Aga. Aga, Ava. Weird. With that information, you go back into the party, keeping your eyes out for how to get into the royal apartments, into the king's quarters, to steal the royal seal. But you don't get very far, because Knight Commander Meredith approaches you for a dance, and you do not refuse Knight Commander Meredith for a dance. Alentia Stone agrees to dance with her, in which a conversation between Alentia and Knight Commander Meredith ensues, which Knight Commander Meredith uses a bunch of very cliche chess analogies to say that many people have different agendas this night, and that she doesn't know if you are a pawn or a player in those games. She tells you that it might be wise to explore the royal gardens. They're very beautiful this time of year. And then the dance ends, and the party gets the hint. The party makes their way into the royal gardens, which is completely abandoned, not a soul in sight. You notice an open window to the west, which is where the royal apartments are. However, before you can get there, you are attacked by assassins, and you manage to dispatch them and hide their bodies, but you find on one of them a letter. That letter is addressed to Captain Dara and reads, "You must reassign some men to observe the newcomers to this ball. If the opportunity arises, eliminate them. Tongas Gilroy's troops are almost all inside the castle ready for the coup. I do not want these hooligans running amok of well-laid plans. Signed, Lady Harpia." Ba-ba-bum. And that is the recap. I will see you second week in November for the next D&D session, and hopefully in December as well. It's my winking face.